The transmission came as static first, then orders. All subject species are to submit 10,000 combatants for the suppression of Sector Theta 9. Failure to comply will be treated as rebellion. The Varn Imperium didn't make requests. It made demands. For generations, the galaxy had bent beneath their heel. Their fleets patrolled like wolves. Their laws left no room for culture, for softness, for soul. And when they issued their call for soldiers, every world, shaking with fear, complied. Except Earth. We didn't respond immediately. Not out of hesitation, but because we were thinking. That made them nervous. Earth had always been different. Not the strongest. Not the wealthiest. But unpredictable. Loud. Passionate. Troublemaking. The Varn tolerated us for one reason. We made excellent engineers and terrible followers. But this time, they didn't want our minds. They wanted our weapons. Our lives. Our submission. What they got instead were dreamers. They expected battalions, armor-plated humans with dead eyes and blank obedience. What arrived instead were poets, musicians, teachers, dancers, and architects. 10,000 of them, clad not in exosuits, but in robes, patchwork uniforms, and colors that made the Varn recoil. "What is this?" their commander hissed, staring at the strange procession. The first human stepped forward, an elderly woman with silver hair and a violin slung over her shoulder. "We are what you asked for," she said, bowing low. 10,000 humans willing to fight. With what? He sneered. With dreams. They laughed at us. They mocked us. But protocol required the Varn to process conscripts. And so they did, shoving us into their transports, herding us onto warships, sending us to the front line of a battle we refused to fight on their terms. Sector Theta 9 was ash before we arrived. Charred husks of cities. Fields of shattered drones. Civilian populations huddled beneath collapsed towers, more afraid of their liberators than their enemies. And into that nightmare, the dreamers came. We didn't raise weapons. We raised tents, painted walls, brewed tea. One by one, the dreamers spread out. Not to conquer, but to see. A sculptor rebuilt a broken courtyard into a sanctuary. A linguist sat with terrified children, teaching them to write poems in their own tongue. A singer climbed atop a ruin and sang lullabies over the broken skyline. And somehow, the enemy stopped shooting, because they didn't understand, but they recognized something ancient in our actions. Peace. The Varn were furious. You were sent to fight. We are, we answered. Fighting for memory, for meaning, for life. In Sector Theta 9, humans did not kill. We healed. We turned field hospitals into gardens, converted armories into libraries, painted murals over their tanks, not to mock, but to remind. This is not all you are. And something miraculous began to happen. The enemy, the ones we were supposed to hate, came forward. They didn't bring blades. They brought books, stories, dreams, songs they thought were banned forever. And we welcomed them. The dreamers listened, cried with them, laughed with them, danced with them in the ashes. And in the eyes of those former foes, something woke up. Hope. The Varn sent drones to destroy the rebellion. We redirected the drones, with coordinated dances and light arrays that mimicked friendly beacons. They sent interrogators. We gave them warm meals and blank journals. And one by one the agents broke. Not from pain, from kindness. The dreamers weren't naive. We knew the danger. Many of us were injured. Some died. But none of us raised a weapon. Even in death, our last acts were to gift, to give, to love. The Varn's empire was built on obedience. But obedience falters when it meets wonder. And wonder spreads like wildfire. It started with one planet, then 3, then dozens. Soon, other subject worlds, those who had quietly resigned to oppression, saw what the dreamers had done in Sector Theta 9. And they began to send their artists, their teachers, their curious, their lovers. The war became a festival, a celebration of what had been lost. Not a rebellion of weapons, but of imagination. The Varn didn't understand how to fight it. You can crush a sword. But how do you silence a story? You can burn a village. But how do you erase a melody sung by 1,000 voices? We rewrote the war, not with tactics, but with truth. We showed them what we were willing to live for. Not power, not vengeance, but connection. When the last Varn general stood trial, he said only one thing. They didn't bring guns. They brought hope. And I didn't know how to fight that. The galaxy remembers now. Not just our resistance, but our joy. Every year, On the date of the first arrival of the Dreamers, Sector Theta 9 holds a celebration. Former soldiers and civilians alike gather beneath lantern-lit ruins, now restored temples of laughter and memory. Children paint stars on walls. Musicians sing in every language. And a statue stands in the center, a violinist, her bow raised, her eyes closed. No one forgets her name, or her song, because when the galaxy asked for soldiers, we sent dreamers, and dreamers changed everything.